Ajay Besant, we have immigration experts from 3 of the law firms today. First, I would like to invite Sri Santosh Somireddy Garu from Somireddy Law Group. So, Santosh Garu received his doctorate from University of District of Columbia, David A. Clark School of Law. While going through his profile, I found something interesting. So, he has a master's and bachelor's degree in civil engineering as well. Probably will pursue why he made the switch at a later point of time. And now I invite Janeta Reddy Kanchalla Garu from Janeta Law Firm. So Janeta Reddy Garu graduated degree from Indiana University School of Law. She has an LLB degree from Usmania University Law School in India. So they have their law offices located in Virginia, Washington DC. Now I invite Banu Garu from TTA Law. So Banu Garu graduated with an LLM degree from College of Law, University of Iowa. He also has an LLB degree from Usmania University, and he has more than 80 years of experience in immigration law. Thank you everyone for being here and taking part of this motivation forum.
Our experts here will, discuss about the burning topics, current burning topics, and then we will open up the platform for questions to the participants. You can discuss whatever your questions you have, and just a disclaimer only. This is just a friendly advice, and TTA or associated attorneys with this, whatever the decisions here are just friendly advices, and TTA is not liable. On a side note, so but you can definitely schedule one-to-one consultations with these 3 attorney offices, and the TTA is there to help you guys in setting up all these consultations and everything. Thank you, and I will give it to Banu Lindra Garu, who will be the driving motor for this session. Yeah, thank you, Banu Garu. I will give you.
Thank you, and thank you, TTA, for giving us this opportunity. I am very proud and very thankful to the TTA giving me this opportunity to do this session with a couple of my colleagues over here and the dear friends also. Fortunately, 3 of us are from Virginia, so we have that camaraderie, and that friendship goes along with the professions and everything. And today, it's a very good session we're going to have. Basically, mostly we will do the session more like an interactive session rather than like a lecture or anything like that. So it becomes easy for all of you to understand everything. I'm going to ask questions to my dear colleagues over here, and they're going to answer what they think, how to approach an issue in immigration law which is going on right now. In that way, first they're going to provide some current updates, and then we will talk about the issues on certain topics which are current and burning topics right now, which will be very useful for all the audience over here. And Janeta Garu, as I said, we were talking about other day also about a lot of immigration updates, right? Especially with the H-1Bs, with the consular processings, and also with the PERM audits, I-140s, and other updates like premium processing. Something other always happening with the USCIS. Could you please tell our audience what are those latest updates are?
Thank you, Banu Garu. Thank you to the organization and the Immigration Committee. Every year we see different patterns in the RFEs, especially whether it is the H-1B or I-140 or PERM, audits. These days, more on when we look into the H-1Bs. Again, back to square one. I guess my colleagues will agree with me. So, especially on the specialty occupation, though the student having a US degree, especially in computer science as well, but degree the major spells out like information management or so, the officer gets confused immediately. Then they are issuing RFEs related to the 4-prong test of the specialty occupation. That's what I'm seeing more. And secondly, if the student is on CPT, especially on how they are maintaining the status, on the CPT, whether they are maintaining their given status on the F1. So these are the RFEs that we are seeing, especially this year.
Santosh, I just want to ask you one small question about this. As Janeta said, we are receiving a lot of RFEs on specialty occupations. and that is about the adjudication with the USCIS. What is the trend you're seeing with the consulates right now? I mean, are they easily issuing the visas for H-1B workers, or do you have any issues with H-1B workers? We are talking about the H-1B workers right now. Later on, I want to talk about the FL students and everything. I want you to emphasize more on the H-1B workers. I mean, how is it going with the consulates right now? I mean, we know that IT surveillance memo actually made it easy for us crossing H-1Bs at the USCIS level, because we do not have to provide client letters or end-client documents previously. Is the consulate still accepting and going through the same thing?
First of all, I would like to thank TTA team for arranging this. So to answer your question, Bhanugaru, unfortunately, Department of State, which is the one responsible for issuing visas, has not been adopting is not bound by the USCIS settlement with IT sort of thing. So they have been asking for client letters, even though USCIS does not require it. The visa officers are looking for client letters in the recent past. Whenever possible, please try to get the client letter, especially stating that the position requires in of a bachelor's degree in a particular specific specialty. In that way, you can avoid issues at the visa processing level.
It's not about whether the position is a specialty occupation or not. It's about the availability of the job itself, right? Whether the job itself is a bona fide or not. And for that purpose, exactly how do you both advise to show? I mean, for instance, in our office, basically, as you said, what we do in our office is that if the clients cannot secure the end-client letters or vendor letters because of the contractual relationships, because most of the times we work in the EVC model or EVVC model, right? Like employer-vendor-client relationship model or employer-vendor-client relationship model, especially in the IT consulting business. And 80% of the employees are from the IT consulting business, which seeks H-1B petitions, basically, right? And for them, it's important, basically, we need to show that there's a job, wonderful job offer available. Because when I'm an employer and I'm petitioning H-1B petition to saying that my employee is going to work at the XYZ client, I need to show my contractual relationship between myself and the client, whether it's a direct or indirect relationship through vendors, right? Under those circumstances, sometimes we cannot get these documents. That's why we have this problem, right? And how do we advise them to handle that issue with the consulates? What we are doing in our office is, I want to talk first from both of you, and then I want to talk exactly to supplement what you're telling, what we do in our office also. That's where I'm asking you this question very clarity, Santosh. How do you advise? I mean, that's great showing the IDs and all these things. That shows that he's working in specialty occupation, but how does it show there's a bona fide job offer? And how do you document that?
So the ID that I'm referring to actually shows that the person is actually working for the client. When I refer to ID, I was referring to the client ID and the invoices and some, if required, some non-confidential communication emails too. That will also help to show that the person is actually working there. And apart from that, if required, you can also get letters from your co-workers or affidavit from your co-workers stating that you're actually working at that client location. But most importantly, it's more than these documents, it's how confident the employee is during the interview. Okay? Because if the person is confident enough, most of the time they don't even review the documentation. Right? Once if the applicant himself is not confident enough, then they start looking at everything to see, because for them to even deny something, right? They have to have a reason. Right? So that's when they look at things in more detail. But if you're confident enough, if you're able to speak properly, saying that, hey, I do this, right? And then there should not be any issues.
Santosh said that we can basically pay the hours range and everything. Does the regulations require when an individual works for a single project and then he starts working for multiple projects and that was not disclosed to the USCIS at the beginning, is that a material change that requires an amendment of an H-1B petition? And if you think it is a material change, it requires an amendment, why do you think? and what is the requirement in the regulations we have to follow at that time. Does it require, because now individual working at the multiple projects, now does it require an employer to provide a definite itinerary, exactly with the timelines and everything, if required to file an amendment along with that to show that this individual works for this particular time frame, this individual works for this many hours this time. That's where the whole dilemma comes. Lots of clients come to me and ask me these questions. Could you please clarify on them?
Yeah, I always advise my clients, if there is a material change, material change happens when there's a change in the title, change in the job duties, and if it is not within the same MSA. And then, as you said, in the itinerary, you give the percentage of, job, pay to, and you always mention that whether it's a full-time position and number of hours, usually 40. So I definitely either recommend an amendment or, for that additional matter of fact, for the other projects that they are having, for those hours, I recommend concurrent filing, not really, altering any of the filing that they already did, because, a certain set of disclosure has been already made when you file. So that's what I would recommend. Yeah. And, I'm glad that at least, most of the guys are getting the opportunities to do concurrent H1Bs. Concurrent H1B is nothing new. When I started my practice, one of the doctors came to me and then, he said that, hey, I need a concurrent H1B. That's when, we started 10, 12 years ago, because they usually do rotations, in different hospitals over the weekends, for those extra hours. So I'm glad that I was able to learn from that experience, and then, it helped. So, now it's kind of, seeping through into the IT industry. So, especially employees are flourishing. So I'm glad for that.